Welcome back. We've gotten junior through college. Boy, that was a journey. That's for sure. Part two of the legendary, and when you talk about legends, not only Loogootee, but in this area, Junior G certainly qualifies, and really was one of the first as far as athletes are concerned. Now, you said, Junior, that you were an athlete, but not necessarily a scholar athlete. Is that fair to say?
That's for sure.
Okay. But we got you through college, through the University of Miami. So we know what's next, but I want to know how we got there. So after you graduate college, do you already have something in mind, or did it take a little bit for anything to get going?
Well, Greg, it's funny. I didn't think too far ahead. I just thought whatever happens will happen. And I'm not the type of guy that goes looking for a job. I've never been that way.
Are you married by now? You got married to Connie in college?
Connie and I were at Miami. She worked at the library, and we had married housing and all that stuff. So, but anyway, after all the basketball's over with that senior year, I get a phone call one night from Ed Traylor here in Loogootee, St. John's guy, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Hey, we got our head coaching job's open. We want you to come back and coach St. John's." Okay, I knew Connie would be happy with that, being she graduated from there. And I said, "Well, let me talk to Connie, and we'll get back with you in a day or two and let you know what we." And we both were homesick. You go 1,000 miles away from your town like Loogootee, 3,000 people. You really homesick because you know everybody.
But yet you've seen a taste of the world now.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But you're still homesick.
I know.
I'm telling you, you're homesick for your family and your friends. You think the world's going to end if you don't get back to your family and friends. And so anyway, we talked it over. She said, "Yeah, we want to go back home." She had a big family. So we called back and said, "Yeah, we'd take." I didn't even ask him if they're going to pay me. And truly, when I took the job, when I signed a contract, we didn't negotiate anything. Greg, my first contract was $7,500, and I was a baseball coach, a basketball coach, athletic director, and taught. But you know what? That's okay. Mm-hmm. Chevy Land out there gave us I taught driver ed too, and they gave us a loaner car for driver ed. And Gary Albright, he says, "Now I want you to drive that car home. I want you to take it recruiting," because he had his sign on the back, Chevy Land. Greg, I had a brand new car. You couldn't do that today. When I was teaching in Naples, Florida, you didn't touch the driver ed car after school. Mm-hmm. I'm driving it to the grocery store. I'd take it out recruiting. I had that car like it was my own. Of course, Gary was getting advertising. Mm-hmm. I'd drive into Forest Crane's little filling station, fill it up. They'd send the bill to the school. And then I got to manage the swimming pool in the summertime as a job, made about $1,000.
But your major in college wasn't education, was it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
PE, driver ed, and health.
Oh, well, there you
go.
Okay.
And I always knew I wanted to coach. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, in my high school yearbook, if you people have a yearbook, it'll say in there, ambition to be a coach. And so we agreed to take the job, came back, and spent 2 years at St. John.
Yeah, incredible years too. Just going back real quick though, once you graduated college, you had a really, really good career at the University of Miami. Was there any thought about playing in the NBA? Did you have any dream of it? Did anything come your way that said I might have an opportunity?
Well, I never got drafted. There was only like 8 NBA teams. Right. Today there's like 32.
Right.
Jerry Reynolds, who coached Sacramento Kings from French Lick, he told me one time, he said, "Man, you could have played in this league." Mm-hmm. we have 32 teams now. I said, yeah, Jerry, they had like 8 back when you and I played.
Yeah, the opportunities weren't as much.
And so I just assumed my basketball career was over as a player. But when I came back, I played so much independent ball; it was incredible.
I remember those games. I've seen you play there,
and loved it. But the opportunity just didn't seem to be there, and I wanted to be a coach, want to come home, and I think I mentioned to you before I had a letter that had an application to play over professionally overseas. And basketball was so big with like Goodyear, Phillips Oilers, and a couple of guys from Miami before me actually went overseas and played, and they end up working for the company as a career after their playing days. But I had forgotten all about that letter, to be honest with you. After Ed Traylor called me, we want to get back home, and so that's how it happened.
Yeah. So 2 years at St. John's?
Yeah.
So you go in there, you're a young adult of what, 22 or 23, right? You're teaching, you're coaching kids that are 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
But tell me what your thoughts were in regards to the respect that they gave you right away. Did they give you a hard time? How was it going in so young, coaching people not much younger than you?
Greg, what a great question. And it's really amazing. I'm only like 4 or 5 years older than those guys. And I came in that summer, called a meeting. I didn't know these kids. I'm in Miami. They're in Loogootee playing. And I called them together and I said, what was your record last year? And they say, well, we were 6 and 17. I said, we're going to turn it around. I said that. I didn't know how good those players were, whatever. I just said it. We're going to turn that around. Greg, would you believe we finished 17 and 6?
Oh, you did. You turned it around. Exactly.
But I have some emails from Bill Ward, a letter from John O'Malley, how much they really loved me being there because they saw me playing in the game. They had so much respect for me as a player. So I had no problem bonding with those kids from day one because they knew who I was, that I played for the Lions, and small town stuff. We're not in Indianapolis. We're in Loogootee.
Right.
And it was amazing how we bonded as a coach and players. But that school was so special. The discipline, the parenting, the teachers, the nuns were super teachers. And the priest, it was a family thing. It's not like, I taught in Naples, Florida. You had Haitians, you had people from Puerto Rico, everywhere. You weren't family like you were at Little Loogootee St. John's. So we bonded the day I met them in that gym. And I think they might have believed me when I said, we're going to turn this around. Because they'd had 2 or 3 bad records in a row or whatever. And I guess I thought I could coach anybody.
Well, you had some talent.
But I had talent. I had the John O'Malley, Billy Ward, and Trout Boys, and Stevie Osborne, and Frankie Dant, and oh my God, and such good kids. I loved them. I love those. I love them to this day.
Yeah.
And that was the best 2 years of my career.
Well, Jack and Jim Trout. Let's start there. Jim was younger, of course. So Jim would have been your first year. Would have been a sophomore. Did he start his sophomore year with you?
Twin Towers. Jack and Jim.
In this area, you don't get twin towers, right? But you had them.
Yeah. They both started, and of course, it's history with Jim Trout. And when schools burnt down, somebody burned them down. I guess I shouldn't say that, but anyway, uh, Jim goes over to Loogootee, and the type of kid I always say the type of kid he is, he's pretty old, but I still think of him as my Eagle player. Uh, I have no doubt that he brought that Loogootee Lion team together because they love Jim Trout, Brian Canada, Rex Sager. I know that Jim Trout bonded that team that took them to the state finals in 1970. But that's the kind of kids I had 2 years at St. John's. And I said, I'll never have another group like this.
Well, Jack went on to play, I think, at Southern Methodist University, I believe.
Southern Methodist out.
Had a nice career. Jim, of course, Indiana State, cut short because of injury. And then John O'Malley.
Yep.
You told me, because I'm going to be talking to John O'Malley. Not everybody knows John O'Malley, but of a certain age around here you do. And you told me he's the best scholar athlete ever to come out of Martin County.
John O'Malley is one of a kind. I've always said for 50 years, there never was and never will be another kid like John O'Malley, adopted to Beck O'Malley and Mary. Sang in the Glee Club, played in the band, a star in 3 sports, valedictorian, gave a speech at graduation, Greg, that was a John F. Kennedy type speech. Got appointment to West Point, played for Bobby Knight at West Point, and now John is a deacon in the Catholic Church in Cincinnati, I believe.
Yes, he is.
Greg, I was a pretty good player, but I was not a scholar athlete like John O'Malley, adopted, and all the things. And you know what? The kids from Loogootee High School love John O'Malley.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible what kind of a gentleman he is, and you'll love interviewing John O'Malley.
Yeah, I know I will. But John reminded me, and I remember I'm only 8, 9 years old, but I thought he had to be the type of player that Junior G was. When I think of John O'Malley, I think of him driving that little quick jump shot, good passer. He was a floor general. So I never saw Junior G play. No tapes, no film, anything. It's unbelievable. But I remember thinking when John O'Malley played, this had to be something like Junior G. Now, maybe not to the talent level, but the floor general and everything else.
John was so unselfish. When I played Greg, I always wanted to include all my teammates on the court. Even kids that couldn't shoot the ball, they needed to touch the ball. And I'd pass the ball to them sometime and go over and ask for it back. But at least they got to touch it. And John O'Malley was the type of guy, he was not selfish at all. He wanted his teammates to be part of what was going on. He didn't worry about scoring 20 points or whatever. And that was a whole team. That whole team was like that. There was nobody wanted to be the star. But John O'Malley he played for Bob Knight. You got to be pretty tough mentally, especially.
He was.
Play for Bob Knight. But John O'Malley, what a joy. What a joy to be around. The positive, his parents, Becca O'Malley and Mary, must have been super parents. They taught him how to treat people, how to be kind to people, and always work hard and do the best you can at everything you do. But his talent, sang in a glee club, played in a band, valedictorian. Greg, there'll never be another John O'Malley.
Yeah, well, we'll find out more about John O'Malley in mid-September or so when he comes to be the Indiana neighbor. So Bill Ward, and I know we can't mention everybody, but I'm trying to think of the ones as a little guy that I remember. And I don't know why I remember Bill Ward so much because I don't know that he was a big scorer, but just remember Bill Ward being so important to that team. And I don't know what it is. You tell me. What is it about Bill Ward?
Bill Ward. Oh my gosh. My little guard. He never was the type of player that messed up a lot. He was steady. He knew what his role was. If he needed to score, good shooter, but didn't shoot a lot because we had the Trout boys, John O'Malley. You can only have so many shots.
Right.
But Billy Ward admired John O'Malley. They were like so close. And I remember one time Billy had kind of a bad practice, and I kind of got after him. I'm sitting in the bleachers during water break, and Billy's over there with his head down. I know I hurt his feelings. John O'Malley walked over and put his arm around. I can still see it. And he's over talking to Billy. Bill, it's going to be okay. Coach will get over this. I remember seeing that. I can still see it. But I got an email from Bill Ward 2 or 3 years ago. And he says, you don't know how much respect I have for you as our coach at St. John's. He said, your 2 years and our success those 2 years has kept a sense of pride in me that is immeasurable. And he said, I just want you to know how much I appreciate what all you did for the St. John's players and student body and so forth. I printed that out and I have it in one of my scrapbooks. That's how special it was. But Billy Ward was outstanding. But his parents, oh my goodness. Shorty Ward, his whole family. That's St. John's.
Yeah.
Special school in my lifetime. I'm so thankful I got that call. After it's all said and done, I'm so thankful I got that call from Ed Traylor asking me and Connie to come back to St. John.
But you told me in this interview before, in part one, that you couldn't stand to lose. You know, you would sulk, you wouldn't talk to anybody. Well, now you're a coach. How would the players that you coached in those 2 years at St. John's describe you as a coach? Were you tough on them after a loss? How did you handle losses then as compared to when you were a player?
Well, it's kind of funny, Greg. I've coached a lot of teams, a lot of different personalities. But like I said before, we were like a family. I mean, we cared so much about each other. And thankfully, we won most of the time. That made the coach happy. But you move on to the next Monday's practice and you just move forward to the games. And I didn't agonize that much over a loss like I did when I played.
Okay.
And these kids at St. John's were parented so well that they knew there were bumps in the road, whether sports or life, and they just move on. I never had that in my life as a player and a student. I didn't have good parenting because my dad really wasn't there. My mother worked all the time, and that was the thing about these guys. So you just moved on to that next week and moved right along.
When I think of your senior season, your team's senior season, and you go undefeated, of course. You know, there was that one bump in the road at the end, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But I think of, again, a little guy like me, St. John's High School. Now, in my head, Junior, you tell me if this is true, but I've always thought that I remember this, that when I saw the rankings, at one time, Loogootee St. John's was number 4 in the state. Does that sound right, or is my a little off on that?
Yeah, we were ranked, I think, top 10.
And I remember seeing Loogootee St. John's. I didn't
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, I had.
It was St. John's to me.
Yeah.
Loogootee St. John's didn't sound right.
Yeah.
But that's what it was.
That's what it was. Loogootee St. John's. I have that in my scrapbook.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't as high as number 4, but it was the top 10 in the entire state
Yes.
by the time the season had ended at 20-0. So ironically, like your senior season in high school, you go undefeated. You lose in the sectional. The difference is, I think, don't you lose in the first game of the sectional in 1969?
No. We won the first 2 games.
Okay, well, I know it wasn't the championship.
Yeah. It was the semifinals against North Davies.
Yeah.
Greg, it's most guys that know about back then. 1969 was probably the strongest field in the sectional, in the history of the Washington sectional. That's not just my opinion,
No.
but I'm telling you, Washington Catholic was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The Hatchets were about the 5th best team in the sectional that year. Bar Reeve, maybe 4th. Lagootee's 3rd or 4th best team in the sectional.
Otwell was pretty good.
Otwell, who won it, thanks to St. John's.
Yes.
But North Davies, to me, they just consolidated 3 schools.
Mm-hmm.
From top to bottom, they were probably the most talented. The starting 5, probably St. John's, but we were close.
Mm-hmm.
And they played a tougher schedule than we did. And we probably had the best sectional game in the history with North Davies. I think it was 82-79. I mean, it was a true basketball game. It wasn't holding the ball. It was like the flow of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tough loss, but the kids played great. And you know, Greg, I went in the locker room, and I hate losing. And I told those guys, I said, I'm so proud of you guys. You played so well. I said, you didn't lose. North Davies won. And I said, I am so proud of you, as if though you'd have won the game. And I meant that. But that sectional was incredible. Tough loss. And broke our heart. In Class A basketball, I think we could have won the state with the Trouts and O'Malley and Ward and so forth. I really do. I think that to this day. But I was no less proud of them.
Yeah. But little did you know that not only would that be your last game that you coached at St. John's, that your next high school coaching job would be at North Davies.
North
right?
Davies.
But let's talk about why. You talked about the fire a moment ago. Tell me what you remember about that day, that morning, that you found out about the fire, and kind of take me through the process as to now what happens.
Yeah, that was pretty devastating. We still had a semester of school to go, basically. And, of course, the 2 schools had to decide what to do. And they ended up moving the elementary kids into the St. John's High School, and moving the high school over to Loogootee High School. So there we are. And Greg, I want to mention this. We beat Loogootee in the sectional. To this day, I don't talk about it. I don't take pleasure in beating Jack Butcher. I know how much it hurts him to lose. He and I were on the same page. Somebody asked me one time, how was it playing for Jack Butcher? I said, let me tell you something. If you play for Jack Butcher, you better hate to lose. And I said, you know what? He and I were on the same page. I said, it was easy playing for Jack Butcher, but you better hate to lose. So beating them, I know it hurt him, and I would never boast about that. I know how proud it was for the kids coach there at St. John's. They're proud of that accomplishment, but I never talk about it. I don't brag about it because I know how much it hurt Coach Butcher, and I have too much respect for him. And so that's never discussed. But when we went over there, they accepted those kids. Those students over there loved John O'Malley and Billy Ward and the Trouts. They fit in because of the type of kids they were.
Yeah. But it wasn't consolidated yet. It was still St. John's.
Oh, yeah.
Still Loogootee through that.
And we were playing baseball.
Yeah.
We were playing baseball while we were going at Loogootee High School.
Now, which school were you at that point? Was the new school at the time? So when you guys all went together, it was at the new Loogootee High School, was it not?
Yeah. I
thought that was already
new gym and everything. But it was really awkward.
Yeah.
It was very awkward. I mean, it's so much respect for Coach Butcher. And being over there, and it was kind of awkward. And then I didn't really think too much about it. I thought, well, something will come along, And I know the Mitchell job opened up, and somebody said, you ought to apply for that. They got some good players, and they did. But I think they thought I was too young, and they hired one of their older coaches in the system. And then, of course, North Davies, they called me, and they said, hey, you're going to double your salary, kind of like that. So I took that job.
So who was North Davies' coach when they?
Bill Slatton.
And he
Greg, at this time, I thought, man, I can coach anybody. I can coach them up.
Sure.
I can make a racehorse out of a plow horse.
Yeah.
But I found out I couldn't. But anyway, Bill knew when to get out. He had all these seniors, that consolidation that first year, and should have won the sectional if it hadn't been for us beating them up in the semifinals. They were dead tired in the fourth quarter. Otwell should send us a gift card to St. John's thanking us for wearing North Davies out. North Davies was 15 points better than Otwell. But they literally ran out of steam. They were having leg cramps, everything that fourth quarter. They dominated till the fourth quarter. So Bill Slatton was the coach. Nice guy, super guy. And so he got out because he knew he didn't have any talent coming back. Hell, I walk in there with no talent.
But you needed a job.
But it is. They gave me a paycheck.
I do still live in the area. How many years did you coach there?
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what the heck is a good experience?
Sure. Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
You got to put bread on the table.
All right. So 4 years.
And there again, Greg, I never experienced losing.
Yeah.
And I always tell people now, you can't win the Kentucky Derby with plow horse.
That's right. All right. So 4 years come and go. Then what?
Well, of course, I actually got out of coaching for 5 years, got in the insurance business, which I really didn't like.
It was your own business, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Junior She Insurance Agency.
Yeah. But, I'm kind of funny about insurance. I always felt like I was sort of taking somebody's money. If they didn't have a claim, they lost their money.
Yeah.
I still feel like that too, as most people do. Why is my insurance premium going up? I didn't have a wreck. So I never really liked the insurance that well.
Yeah. Did Connie work along this time frame? Was Connie working?
At the Tribune.
Oh, at the Tribune.
For Uncle Harold.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course my boys were young, and it was all good. Of course I participated in the banquet, I was president of the banquet 1 year and so forth. Charlotte Meyer got me there.
Yeah.
So it was all good. It's good. It was a good 5 years. But I was kind of yearning to coach. And I kind of missed the weather in Florida,
Really?
and I guess I got sand in my shoes when I went to school there.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go back to Florida. That's where I've been for a long time.
Which is where now? Where do
Yeah.
you live in Florida now?
Altamont Springs, which is a basic suburb of Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah.
Completely retired?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I got a couple of rental homes, properties. I have one in Las Vegas and one in Orlando, and
Las Vegas?
yeah, I got a Las Vegas condo. I'm not a gambler, but
Yeah.
I stole it back when the market went
Yeah.
really crashed. So it's been really good for me.
Yeah, Las Vegas.
I rent it out short term, and I go out there a couple, 3 times a year. But
So short term, up like 2 or 3 days if I want to go out.
I usually go out for about 5 days,
Okay.
and but I'm not a gambler.
Yeah.
But I like the scene, the strip, the
I do
whole.
too. It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different world.
It's a different world. So but you do get back into teaching, get back into coaching.
Yes.
Tell me about those days in Florida.
Well, I went to a school called Laley High School. We had a lot of the Haitian kids. It was kind of a so-so position, and then I was in line to get the next available coaching job at Barron Collier High School. And they were kind of in the middle of Naples, so they had the upper middle class kids, and so that job opened up, and they called me, and I said, yeah, I want that. So I spent 26 years there. No, I'm sorry, 21 years there. 26 in Naples, but 21 of it, my last 21 at Barron Collier. Great kids, had good kids. There again, parenting.
Yeah.
Good parents.
You coach tennis? Did you coach tennis?
Yeah.
Anything else? Did you coach basketball?
I coached a little baseball, and after I got out of basketball, I coached golf. I love golf. I wish I'd have been a professional golfer. I played a lot of tennis, and I coached a tennis team for a few years. Those are easy jobs.
Yeah.
You know, you sit on the golf cart and tell the guys to practice, and
And they do it.
Yeah. So the tennis and golf coaching was just a piece of cake.
Yeah.
It's kind of the end of your road.
Are you into the pickleball range at all? Do you play pickleball?
No,
No?
it wasn't part of it.
I mean, now do you?
No. I got a bad knee.
Okay.
My teammate at Miami, Rick Berry, is a national player.
No kidding.
Oh, he's 6'7". His wife is an ex-tennis player in college. She's 6'1", and they play doubles. Can you imagine?
No.
And Rick loves it. I mean, I talked to him. He's in Colorado Springs, and he has a home in Lakewood, Florida, in the wintertime. And we talk about it every couple of months.
Yeah.
But he's really into the pickleball thing.
Well, it's a craze around here.
I've been seeing on Facebook about here in Loogootee. My goodness.
I've got a brother and sister that's just obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I did it one day and ended up down at Dr. Hawkins at the chiropractor, and I'm done. I might try and come back.
Yeah.
But no.
I understand your brother Chris is quite a
Oh,
player.
he's pretty good. And Sammy, my sister,
Oh, okay.
who's quite the tennis player as well, is very good. But she had a pretty bad injury that she's just now coming back from.
Oh, okay.
Tore her up, but she is so glad she's back on the courts now.
I was talking to Jeff Doyle a couple of days ago.
Jeff's another one that's.
And he's partners with Chris.
He is, yeah.
And he said Chris is a good athlete.
Yeah, they've won a couple tournaments.
Yeah, that's what I heard. And I said, oh, okay. I said, Jim raised some pretty good kids.
You mentioned you were president of the alumni banquet with Charlotte Meyer back in the early going, right? So when we have our Saturday night banquet, it'll be our 48th, and it started in 1976. You may have been a part of that, or
I think it was the second one.
Yeah.
Greg, we were down in Huntingburg. Yeah, I think we may have had
400 and some people.
Yeah,
right here in the library. I looked it up.
It was incredible. We honored Les Page. I told the committee, I said, we got to honor Les Page, 25 years in the Loogootee system. Les Page was,
Yeah.
he was my all-time favorite.
I've never heard a bad word about
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We were so blessed to have Lester Page in that school system. Played golf with him
him.
20 years after he retired and all that stuff, him and Don Crane. And
Yeah. So you've obviously stayed in touch with Loogootee pretty well every year, maybe more than once a year.
yeah,
But tell me about the start of the Butcher G Alumni Hall of Fame Golf Tournament. So those of you who don't know, this Saturday, which in our case, as we videotape this tomorrow morning, will be the 20th annual. What started out as the Butcher G Golf Hall of Fame Golf Classic because we had two basketball Hall of Famers, Junior G and Jack Butcher. Well, now we have four, and it's Bill Butcher and Steve Brett added to that list. So it's the Butcher to G Brett tournament, and it's Saturday morning, last Saturday in July. But you and Coach Butcher started it up for scholarships, and it's continued, and tons of money given to Loogootee High School graduates through these scholarships. Tell us how that started up.
well, after I got that humbling call from Indianapolis, Roger Dickerson, that I was going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame.
What year was that, by the way?
2003.
Okay.
Right there's the ring.
Oh, hey, show them. Wow.
I don't wear this all the time, okay?
Okay.
But a couple days later, I'm thinking, wow, this is incredible. We have to give back to our little community. I called Coach Butcher on the phone. I said, Coach, on an individual basis, we've reached Mount Everest in the Hall of Fame. I said, we got to give back to our community. He said, what do you have in mind? I said, well, I play golf, you play golf. We got a lot of your ex-athletes that play golf, even the Swartzen Troopers down in McCandlesburg play. I said, I've always wanted to play golf at the alumni banquet day, but they said, no, it's too hard to get it together. But I just want everybody from out of town just to get together and play some golf where the women could socialize and go to the banquet that night. I said, let's put a tournament together and raise a couple of scholarships for a couple of kids to help go to college. And I'll never forget, he said, those things only last a couple of years in small towns. And I said, let's shoot for 10 years. And he's on the phone. He says, did you say 10 years? I said, let's shoot for 10 years. I think we can do it. He said, well, if you think so, Greg, I'm on the phone calling everybody from Florida. I'm calling everybody up here. Can you get a team in here? My goal was eventually have 18 teams, because you start on 18 holes, a team on every hole. That's called a shotgun start. So my goal was 18 teams. We got 15 the first year, and it went great. Charlotte Meyer and all the volunteers came up there, the Birches and everybody volunteering, helping us out. Greg, we get to the 10th year, and I told Coach Butcher, at the little par 3 by the clubhouse, I'm going to be at the tee box, and as the teams come through, I'm going to hit a shot with them, shake their hand, and thank them for the 10 years. You'll be up at the green, and you're going to putt with each team and thank them. So that's our plan. That's going to end it. I get a call from Wayne Flick. Wayne says, Junior, we can't stop this. I said, what do you mean? He says, I'm getting too many players saying, we got to keep this going. He said, could Tracy Baker and I take this over and run it? And I said, Wayne, it's a lot of work. He says, I don't care. These guys want this to go on. Greg, we now have 36 teams.
Yeah. And a Ring of Honor.
And this is the 20th year.
I know, it's incredible. And a Ring of Honor, which they've started not that many years ago, where I don't know what the criteria is, but I know it's not always just, it's athletes for the most part, for sure. but people who have made an impact on our community in school, educators as well. And there's going to be several more inducted Saturday morning. And by the time this airs, you'll know who they are, but we can't say at this moment because it's a surprise. But it's turned into an outstanding event all day.
Greg,
hot tomorrow.
I would challenge any small community in this state of Indiana to do what our guys in this community have done with this thing. Mm-hmm. The opening ceremonies are incredible. Yeah. The mayor comes down. We have a girl sing the national anthem.
We've got it on the radio.
Yeah, the radio. Greg comes down on the radio. And we honor different individuals and groups. The opening half hour is incredible to get this thing started. And Greg, I can't tell you how heartwarming it is for me to have given a little bit back to some of the kids to help them buy books at school or whatever when they go to college. This is in life you always have to have something to look forward to. Mm-hmm. I look forward to this every year. Yeah. I don't know how long it's going to go, but we get guys coming down that the whole team's in same T-shirts. They wear the same, the Blackwells, the dad and the three sons. They wear identical shirts. Yeah. It is
stylish shirts, by the way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If anybody wants to come down there, come on down and see the open. Of course, you won't see this by then, but
maybe not. Maybe
this is pretty special, yeah. Greg.
Well, so Wayne Flick and Tracy Baker have been special. I mean, coming from Indianapolis to do this every year, and also they're involved heavily as committee members to the alumni banquet. So Wayne and Tracy, I salute to you. But I did ask them, hey, you guys, sooner or later, they've already got a succession plan. They've already got a group of guys who are willing to take it over, so it's going to go on for some time. But I want to thank you for starting it, you and Coach Butcher.
You're welcome, Greg.
And it's going to go on for a long time.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah. Well, we're not done here just yet, because I want to end it maybe with a little bit of talk about your family. I know if you want to talk about your children, I know your grandchildren, and dote on whatever you want to do, but tell us a little bit about your children first.
Okay. Well, first of all, I've got two sons, Michael and David. Kind of wish I had a daughter, but I wouldn't trade either one of my boys. Mm-hmm. They're both in Austin, Texas, darn it. And I wish they were in Florida.
Why Austin, Texas? How'd they end up
Well,
there?
My son David's a very scholastic type kid, and he got a tuition-free scholarship to get his MBA degree at the University of Texas. David is also a musician. He plays the electric and acoustic guitar, and Texas is next to Nashville for
Austin
music.
Especially, yeah.
Yeah. So when he went out to Austin, to the University of Texas, he likes Austin. He lives downtown, and he has a recording studio. He built a home, and he has a guest house, and he has a recording. He gets up every morning and practices at 4:30 in the morning, every day. And he's got two children. Jake is 5, and Georgia just turned 8 last week.
A little girl, finally.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. And then Michael, who was in Orlando, I moved from Naples up to the Orlando area to be closer to Mike and his kids. And he calls me one day and he says, hey, Dad, we're going to relocate to Austin to raise our kids with my brother. Yeah. I said, no, Michael, no. He said, well, Dad, you could move out there. I said, but I like Florida. But anyway, he's got 2 children, a daughter and a son, yeah. Logan. Logan's my little athlete. Yeah. And then Harper, and I think she's going to be an athlete. She just turned 9, and Logan will be 13 in October.
Tell me a little bit about Logan.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Logan, he was telling me before, quite the scholar athlete himself, but tell me a little bit about his experience in Cooperstown and such.
Oh my gosh.
13 years old.
As I mentioned earlier, I was out of state. I was out of Loogootee to St. Louis a couple times and over to Owensboro, Kentucky. About 3 weeks ago, Michael's son's Little League team got invited to play in Cooperstown, where the Hall of Fame baseball's at, to play in a 70-team tournament. 70 teams around the country, Ohio, Texas, everywhere. And they have 26 baseball fields in that little town of Cooperstown.
Oh my.
And they got to go to the Hall of Fame. Now here is my 12-year-old grandson going to the Hall of Fame to see the statues of Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle. And I said, oh my gosh. And I just got out to Owensboro.
Yeah.
But this kid's going to be a good athlete, but he's a scholar athlete. He just got into the, I like to brag on Logan. What a nice kid. Mm-hmm. But he just got into the middle school National Honor Society. Got inducted this year.
John O'Malley. You got a John O'Malley on your hands.
Yeah, a little bit of John O'Malley in him. And he played really well in Cooperstown. They won 7 out of 8 games. They finished, I think, 6 out of 70.
Okay.
But I'm blessed. But I'm going to have to tell you this. Connie has been such a great mother and grandmother to Michael and David and the kids. They couldn't have had a better mother. So she gets a lot of credit.
Where's Connie today?
She's here.
Connie.
She's out on by the 4-H building out there and married. Mm-hmm. We're still friends.
Yeah.
We get along fine. We talk, and our boys are always number one.
Yeah. So what else? Always, just in case. I mean, in 2 hours, you'd think I would have asked every question I could. But is there anything that you wanted to talk about, or maybe mention that we didn't touch upon? Because this is your time.
Well, as we all find out, Greg, as we get older, nobody goes through this life unscathed. We all have issues. Life is like a roller coaster, peaks and valleys, and you have to deal with life in general. And I look back on my career as an athlete, a coach, a father. As an athlete, when I played, I always hoped that the guys I played with would rather play with me than against me, because I wanted to share with them. And I tried to coach that way, teach the players that everybody's important. And I have a philosophy that it's easier to be nice to someone than it is to be rude to someone. Life's a little bit like baseball. We spend that first 20 years, get through school, go to college, and then we head to second base and get married and have kids. And then we head to third base thinking about retirement. We round third and head for home. And we hope we slide in safely. Well, I want to get in a pickle between third. I think that's where I'm at. I want to get in a rundown, as you know, baseball, but I want to slide back into third.
Okay.
But I've had a pretty good life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Pretty happy. I'm a pretty happy guy.
Yeah. Well, when I thought about doing these sort of conversations, I guess, of course, all along I knew we had to do Junior G. It's just timing, and Junior's up here once a year and what have you. But I think it's important that we document what we did today for Junior's kids, for his grandkids, really for Martin County. Really, Junior G is a very important part of our county. Many people of growing up, and we got it done. It took 2 parts. But yeah, we got Junior through college and got him through life to this point. And Junior, I can't tell you how much, the stories I've heard over the years, but I'm so glad that I got to hear a few more today that we didn't know, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot in Loogootee, but there's a lot of love.
A lot of love.
And a lot of pride. And throughout my life, I hope that I've been able to contribute to that. The pride that we have here in this town, being a small town, and there's not many small towns like us. And that's just like our golf event. I challenge anybody to do what everybody. And I tell the guys, thank you. Every year I tell them, thank you for what you guys are doing here in this event, giving kids a couple of scholarships. And it's a reunion, Greg. It's joy, and it's a lot of love. And that's what's missing in this world right now. We need more love, more kindness in this whole world.
Yep.
And that's...
Junior, thank you for your time. Welcome home.
Thank you, Greg.
Enjoy the weekend.
Appreciate that.
Our Indiana neighbor, the legendary Junior G. Thanks for watching.
Good job, Greg. Thank you.
All right.
It's fun.